Good night, everybody. Yeah, since my last broadcast, there are a couple of things that came to my attention that I wanted you to be aware of. And this podcast will be continuing where we started concerning farmlands in Antigua and Barbuda. But where I would like to start concerning farms and food security in Antigua, the most important article that I saw in the last 7 days is an article from Sweden. That's a European country. And why I found it interesting and why it relates to us, because let me give you a little taste of what happens. The Swedish defense minister warns the country of Sweden that you need to prepare for a war. Why you need to prepare for a war? Because they call it situation awareness. He's telling the people of Sweden to be aware of the realities that war could come at any moment. So get your ducks in a row, dot the I, cross the T, and it's better to be prepared than to be unprepared. And I just want to read you all a couple sentences, a few paragraphs on what the defense minister in Sweden said about preparing for war. Situational awareness. That's the term that they used. Um, it's taken from an article from Euroactive, but if you Google Sweden defense minister saying prepare for war, if you Google that alone, situational awareness, you find lots of it was in the Daily Mail, it was in Fox News, everybody was reporting it. There was even some panic buying in Sweden because of what the defense minister had to say, because it was actually backed up by other officials. So listen to this. Top security actors, including Swedish Civil Defense Minister Carl Oskar Bolin and the country's commander-in-chief, Mikael Biden, agreed that Sweden could soon be facing war and call for increased resilience, included among the civilian population. As Sweden is expected to join NATO in 2024 and the broader context of Russia's war in Ukraine, Sweden's Civil Defense Minister Carl Oskar Bolin urged his fellow citizens to prepare for war at the Folkårsforsa conference in Salin. Bolin expressed concern that the modernization of the Swedish civil defense system was not happening fast enough and urged everyone, from managers and local councillors, to provide citizens to take action. Many have said it before, but let me say it with the force of my voice. There could be a war in Sweden, he said, adding that awareness needs to be translated into practical action. He also drew parallels with Ukraine, which faced a full-scale Russian invasion with total resilience, according to him. Such an effort can only be made quickly enough if the vast majority of people are aware of the situation and understand what is at stake, Boland said. So situational awareness is what they're trying to get their citizens to keep in their mind in the months and years that may unfold with the way the world is, especially in their part of the world in Europe. Now, I started this podcast in Sweden, but it relates back to what is happening in Antigua and Barbuda. They are preparing their citizens, telling them probably, y'all should write your wills. Y'all should have a bunker, a safe house. Determine that if war breaks out, that you have enough cash in a hidden place, and you make preparations for if you have children, they'll probably put them away from any war zone and visit family in other countries. And I guess they have a civil defense force so that the men and the women will be called up to fight. You understand? And it's all about situational awareness. And while we in Antigua are sitting back and waiting for a country with decreasing farmlands to provide food for us if there is a world war or a major conflagration, this concerns me as an Antiguan. I have 3 boys living with me in Antigua. And what I know a little bit of World War II is that my mother was born on January 21st, 1938. My father, Vere Bird III, was born on the 26th of October, 1936. My mother recounts me from time to time, remembering as a little girl that they had to have rations. The British were rationing, the colonials were rationing food in Antigua and Barbuda. My father, I remember seeing a young boy driving up on a motorbike with one of those German helmets. You know, they ride them motorbikes, so they have these German style helmets. I remember him saying, you know what, boy, when we used to see those helmets, hear about those Germans, you know, and see those helmets, it's not something I felt comfortable with. He said he remembered that in St. John's because, you know, he used to live at Tanner Street. He remember them turning off the light in St. John's because they were afraid of U-boats out in the Atlantic or in the Caribbean. And they're watching the coastline and seeing if probably they're trying to find out information and relay sites and mapping out your country if they choose to attack. That is reality, situational awareness. We don't have that in Antigua and Barbuda. We are not taking the circumstances that are happening in the world today and applying them to what we can do to feed ourselves. The concerning part is that for some reason, what I just said, food was rationed in World War One, World War Two, but we survived it. And you know we survived it? Because in Antigua we had farmlands. We had sufficient lands where people could go to their backyard garden and still go down the road and help somebody farm some land. And they bought with other farms if you want some potato, sweet potato, yam, choba, whatever else. What would happen if one of these countries in Europe decides to go to war? Or not only with Europe, but the other serious machinations, Serbia and Croatia. You see the same issues appearing even in Taiwan, where our own prime minister had to go and get on his knees and say, oh, it is one China policy. And you see Max and the other set of bottoms in the background. All of these are potential places, hotspots. What do we do in situations where to prepare ourselves? Because as I was saying, in Antigua and Barbuda back in the World War One and World War Two, we were able to ration, but also have backyard gardens and also go on farmlands to increase the yield. And that is how we fought off starvation. Or even if people weren't going to be able to food stomach, that is how you were able to make do with what you had. But you cannot count on saying a Dominican fig boat is coming in to get us bananas in times of war, because they're going to have to feed their own citizens. They cannot say that spices are coming from Grenada. Can they go on and spice their own people up or even sell that at a higher price because things are so hard to get? But for some reason, the government, the people who are supposedly leading us, they're choosing to destroy farms to put housing projects on. Anybody all ever look and see of all the cabinet ministers, how many of these ministers own farms? Gaston Brown and Maria. Chet Green. Well, Robin Newell is the minister, but he has his farm for a long time. He's situation away from day one. You have, I hear Samantha Maza chicken farm growing eggs, laying eggs. You have the other one, Darrell Matthew. Same thing. And this is a great concern. This is a great concern. They see the need to own farms. How do you own farms? The majority of the cabinet have farms. Went and got government land and put farms that are producing and harvesting, selling. But the people that you put to have government farms running and producing chose to get leased land from government, produce, but aren't being able to harvest anything off of other government lands and farms. Isn't something wrong there? Just think about it. You elect somebody during COVID times. I know you saw what happened after COVID. You think that these farms, the leaders would see more reason now than ever to have these farms producing. The only farms that are producing is Gaston Brown, Farmer Brown. Chet Green farm is doing well. Robin's farm is doing well. Samantha is laying eggs and Dara Matthew is laying eggs. It's a sad circumstance we face in Antigua. And I'm still not convinced that the people are aware or even aware enough, even after what happened, even after when I showed you these farms are being bulldozed over. Because the last 2 weeks now, they've called pickets. And the people that are showing concerns are numbering the handful 10, 20 people from what I see. At what point in time is it when you wait and you starve that you will show up and be accounted for and say you could do better? Ask the government to do better? It may be too late. But that is what this whole podcast of mine is all, because I know the Antiguan people really deal with 9 days and then the story dies on after the ninth day. But I'm here to keep it alive and to give my 2 cents into how to go about solving this whole situation. Barrett owns farms. Hadid, the Prime Minister and his wife. Chet Green, Robin Yearwood, Samantha's laying eggs, and Dara Matthew along the way too. And in this circumstance, you really have to ask yourself, so when the war, which eventually will come, in other shape or form, and you are starving, you'll be outside the farm, the government leased land, looking in, and them and their families eating well. Samantha share her chicken eggs with us. Will the Prime Minister share his avocados? I doubt it. I would not bet on it. Especially me. Me know me for my dog dead. I ain't getting none of them avocados or eggs. But I'm just saying to Antigua and Barbuda, you need to support these pickets. You need to support the opposition. And everybody who's out there, you come out and you picket. If you can't stay for an hour, stay half an hour. If you can't stay half an hour, stay 10 minutes. Honk your horn. Rally in support. Because at the end of the day, war will be on our doorstep. And we are not prepared to feed the population. And even if you say, oh, well, we could never feed the population, well, at least you're supposed to be able to provide enough grown provisions and harvest to make what is a hard situation when all countries will be looking to feed their own citizens, that you can lessen the burden on yourself and your families and the suffering of going to bed at night with an empty stomach. And that is what I'm talking about. And that is what the Swedish defense minister is putting the citizens of Sweden in the mindset that war is coming. Get your ducks in a row. Get your act together. You can do better than this. Antigua could do a lot better. And if you come out and support, you see all these farmlands just being bulldozed over and left vacant and fallow. It's designed by the government. It is designed by the government. And that's the point I want to make to you. Now, up to about 10 years ago, roughly, I wouldn't say it's exactly a 10th day to the day or anything like that. You always heard everybody come from America or Europe or wheresoever come to Antigua and they see the nice powder white beaches and the nice blue surf, aqua water, and the sun and the blue skies and white clouds is all picturesque. And everybody comes to and say, oh, we want to live on the beach. And you see all these properties of people building on the beach, coming and you know, in Antigua, the majority of Antiguans do not live on the beach. We know better than that. But people have this picturesque image. Let's go and live on the beach so I can just walk out my house after breakfast and just walk straight into the lovely blue or turquoise Caribbean or Atlantic Sea. That has changed. The circumstances now we face in the world with global warming, the rise in the sea temperature, the rise of the sea levels. There's all these large icebergs are breaking off from the North Pole and all these places where they had large glaciers. And the water in ocean is rising and it's getting hotter and it's affecting those same properties, $1 million properties. Oh, I have a beach bungalow, beach house. Just come on down. Them they're not gonna know. Whoever had a beach house or whoever think they can get the beach house sold, you're gonna be selling it at a loss. People don't buy beachfront properties anymore because nobody want them. They're a hassle. Maintenance, and just the fact that in a couple of years they will be washed off into the sea or be part of the ocean because of these tides, because of this global warming. But where do you go next as a multimillionaire? Somebody who has $30 million. You see the circumstance that beachfront property isn't worth what it was 10, 15 years ago now. What are you going to do? Go into the interior of the country. Farmlands is what the multimillionaires or the so-called rich people in Antigua and Barbuda are after. They be buying up. They be getting all these leased lands, farmlands from the government, and they're going to be sweeping them up like the next cash crop because they know, reading papers, watching the news, speaking to their friends, family members all over the world, that what you saw in 2020 with that pandemic is going to be a lot harder. And even though we're not fully over it, the supply chains are never the same as they were pre-2020 into COVID. It's all right now, but some stuffs in the supermarket you don't get as easy as before. Some businesses have gone out of business. But I say this to say that the new hot property in Antigua and the rest of the Caribbean is to get farmlands, whether you can purchase it for cheap or you can get a government lease for 30, 40, 49 years. You will be making a hell of a profit if you can get that farmland up and running. Because the prices of your harvest are going to go through the roof with what is coming next in the world. The Prime Minister knows that. The Hadids know that. Robin always knew that. Samantha Lena Eggs with Dara Matthew, they've come to that realization also. There's a man by the name of Misha Peretz, who's a good friend of mine. He's from Israel originally, but he's been living in Antigua since the 1980s. Misha, there's a company that he's working for, and the company is getting a lease for 100 acres of land in the Willoughby Bay area. Yes, I think it's around 2017, 2018, 2019, because he's a farmer from Israel who has all the knowledge to grow and to reap large harvests. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you this story because I was there when it happened. Misha was promised land by the government, 100 acres of land, to grow harvest and employ people and export like he did previously. Privately owned one of the largest farm in Antigua back in the early 200s. But he's starting over again or trying to do something to help himself. The lease was supposed to be signed. The government started to drag its feet and come back then, and we haven't done this part, or this protocols need to be done, or we're going to get this sorted out and come back. Check this, man. You just have to sign it, man. It's just a formality. Don't worry, Misha, we got your back. Everything is good and fine. Misha's getting frustrated. I'm his friend and his lawyer. I noticed one day Misha come and telling me, what's the block and parcel number they gave us that is going to be for the 100 acres of Willoughby? So everyone to say, oh, this guy named Mr. Barrett, Rob Barrett wants to know. He's a friend of mine, and he's going to assist me to see what he can do to push the government to get me that leased in government land to do the farming. So yeah, okay. That's very nice of Mr. Barrett. What a good friend you have. And then it's me tell me fear. I need that. I need the power block and parcel number. And Mr. Barrett's lawyer is going to what? What? Where the lawyer coming? So you have a lawyer, but his lawyer is going to assist you to get government land. Say, me love what this is on already now, but I see what this turn out. 1 second, the time before you could even blink. You know who get the land in their name? Rob Barrett. Rob Barrett. He couldn't get any other piece of land in Antigua and Barbuda. He heard about what Misha was telling him his complaint, and just like a friggin' chicken hawk, he swooped down and take what was earmarked for somebody else, for Misha's company, the family's company, his brother's company. That is because they know what is coming, and they all have their large plots of land, leased land from the government that they are harvesting and making a profit upon. But the government farms, where poor people are supposed to be working and to learning on agriculture, to feed Antigua and Barbuda publicly, not privately, those fees are follow. Bush will grow up, and it's by design. They will keep those fields not producing anything, and they will come and tell the public, nothing going on up there. That's just land. Nobody doing anything. Who isn't doing anything? You're elected. If you saw Donbass was not producing, then it is my fault it wasn't producing, or you, as the leader and the cabinet of Antigua and Barbuda, coming out of COVID and seeing supply chains slowing down, you have not done anything with the land. And you come now to say, let us build a housing project on that land. That's called taking out the competition. Because you know you have your farms. And if you don't have any farms in Antigua and Barbuda, people are going to have to depend on you. That is the nature of the nastiness, self-centered, egotistical, bad-minded, natured individual known as Gaston Brown and the rest of these degenerates making up the cabinet of Antigua and Barbuda in this government. And for some reason, people look those people and congratulate them on the good job that they're doing. And they're really having Antigua develop and progressing and moving forward. There's some of us that will be fooled without us getting paid or being bribed. There's some of us that will be fooled because you're getting money, or they provided you with a job, or you're just stupid. But you cannot fool all of the citizens in Antigua and Barbuda. My mother and father, Vere and Edinburgh, didn't raise a fool. And I've tried my best abilities to warn Antigua and Barbuda about Gaston Brown and the degenerative, bad-minded, low-minded people that surround him. They are attracted to his nastiness, and they will sink that country for party politics and just pure bad-mindedness and see you starve or die of hunger as long as they can fill their money with money and beat their chest of how rich they are, or how well they are such great investors, such great businessmen, such great politicians, and know how to maneuver and manage this country. Smoke and mirrors. It never existed. You have elected for nearly 10 years now one of the worst mentally scarred, psychologically damaged individuals out of any government or leader in the Caribbean. I haven't seen damaged goods like this since probably, I don't freaking know, Pol Pot in Cambodia. You know, that's so low down the pole. I have this man. And Digga, yeah, I really could do better, you know. But it's just your own personal greed and selfishness that have that country so messed up. I'm asking Auntie and Bobby when you lay down in bed tonight, wash off and you put on your 90. You put on your pampers or pajamas or your two-piece bikini to really think about how can this country progress? How can we eat if we don't even provide some percentage of our industry to agriculture? And it cannot be the private sector agriculture. It has to be public agriculture, the government running these farms. These are heritage farms. Some of them should never even be leased. They should be run by the government to produce a black pineapple, which is on our coat of arms. Cotton should be another product that we should have small cotton farms to produce the finest cotton in the world. Less cotton, the higher the price. We cannot outproduce a lot of the other large cotton fields in the world. Our pineapple is so rare that it cannot be exported. People don't know about the black pineapples. Well, if you carry a pineapple abroad and you tell them about it, because our farms are too small to mass produce it. So I'm telling you, if those small farms are not bearing produce in the next year or two, you and your family and my family living in Antigua, we are going to have hard times. You cannot look on the great white hope of America to take care of you and to feed you. Because you even saw during the COVID pandemic that they had all the Pfizer and the Moderna, they had them stored. They bought so much of that crap, all them vaccines, vaccine for A, B, C, Delta, Omicron, all the crap. They stored them up just in case their citizens needed. And it's after the vials them will pass a sell-by date are getting old that is, hey, third world, Antigua, Barbuda, come get your vaccine. We care for you so much. So imagine if that was food. You stand a better chance of surviving COVID without a vaccine. But how long can you go without eating food? You remember the Prime Minister now? Is the wealthy people. A wealthy family gave him his vaccine. So they're going to be looking about themselves. And they gave him that because they want to ingratiate themselves with him. So he'll be fed. He'll get his vaccines. But what about you and your family? That's all I wanted to say tonight. You need to support the faithful nationals from this Wednesday at 8 o'clock. They will be picketing the Prime Minister's office on the Factory Road side. Don't get it wrong now. Don't go on the Queen Elizabeth side. The Factory Road side, that's by Sagicor, just to the east of Sagicor. Just go there and wait. I'm presently off island now. I saw about 20 to 30 picketers from the last picket. And I'm not pleased. But 30 people can do a lot of damage. Trust me. And I'll tell you about it probably in the next podcast. Don't worry. If y'all have 20, then y'all got 21. Because I'll be back in Antigua soon. If you have 30, trust me, you'll have 31 real soon. Stay safe. Antigua and Barbuda, all the very best. And all the best. I hope the sticker shock in them supermarkets isn't frighten y'all yet. It should frighten y'all enough to go out in your damn garden and go some yams or some pumpkins. Take good care and goodbye for now.